So welcome everyone. If you'd like to type in the chat where you are from, and we'll get started soon. And we welcome you to turn your cameras on. We like to see your face, and we know our speakers would as well. All right, let's get started. So welcome, good evening, everyone. My name is Ebony Tyler, and I, along with my colleagues, are delighted to welcome you to our Community Talk series hosted by Our Future is Science. This series is a part of the Mentorship and Scholars Program of Our Future is Science. Our Future is Science is a joint initiative between the Aspen Institute Science and Society Program and Coda Society. We are committed to sparking youth curiosity and passion for and confidence in STEM to not only advance science and ensure that diverse voices are heard and valued, but to solve society's most pressing issues. And we are generously supported by Genentech, the Manitou Fund, the Rita Allen Foundation, 3M, and Lydia Hill's Philanthropy. So again, we would love to see your face. And we know that our guests would love to see your face. Don't be shy. We are all friends here. Come on, we're like 2 months in? All right, no pressure, but you know where we're going with this, right? We would love for you to share your face with us. All right. So tonight we have Dr. Adrian Land. He is our keynote speaker, which will follow with a tour of the 3M Innovation Center led by Michelle Woodard and conclude with a Q&A. But before we begin, we want to share that the Community Talk series is one of several current efforts of the Our Future is Science initiative, as we have a mentorship program and a scholars program. And recently we launched a media campaign to ignite a movement where young people are able to draw connections between science and social justice. But before we get started, we have a few words to share from Dr. Marsha McNutt, President of the National Academy of Sciences, to kick off tonight's community event. And we encourage youth to participate in our national campaign that has launched.
Hello, I'm Marsha McNutt, President of the National Academy of Sciences. The National Academy is an honorary organization to which a very select group of the top scientists in America are elected each year. We also serve as the official advisors to the nation on any topic for which evidence can inform better public policy. The message I want to convey to you today is that the true skill and creativity in science is all about asking the right questions. The answers to those questions are comparatively easy after a question is well posed. But if the scientists asking those questions only constitute a narrow cross-section of communities, backgrounds, and experiences, then science is not going to be answering the problems that most impact Americans. For this reason, we need much greater diversity in our scientific workforce. And now I'd like to invite the youth of America to join the Our Future is Science media campaign. Think about how you would answer the question, how could science make a difference in my community? Share your video with the hashtag Our Future is Science for a chance to win prizes and scholarships.
What a great message from Marsha McNutt. Thank you. So we invite you all to please visit ourfutureisscience.org/campaign to learn more. So now let's get started with tonight's talk. And if you have a question during the talk, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them at the Q&A. And I'll now turn the mic over to my colleague, Dr. Delana Sheets, to introduce our first speaker.
Good evening, everyone. I am thrilled to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Adrian Land, who was recently named as one of the most inspiring Black scientists in America by Cell Press. It's an honor to have him speak with us tonight to give more insight into his background. Dr. Land began his scientific career as a forensic microbiologist with the Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA. It was there that he used his microbiology background and simultaneously acquired competencies in regulatory policy. Taking hold of those competencies, Dr. Land is now a senior regulatory affairs manager at Procter & Gamble, where he supports global business operations at the interface of research and development and the external regulatory environment. Dr. Land's early career achievements have garnered recognition in several scientific publications, including profiles in American Society for Microbiology magazine and Science magazine. He is passionate about broadening access to STEM careers for students of color and finds that his greatest successes today are in helping others. Lastly, Dr. Land serves on the Biology Department Advisory Board for Alcorn State University, where he received his BS degree in biology, followed by a PhD in microbiology from Indiana University, and received postdoctoral training at Washington University in St. Louis. Beyond his professional career, Dr. Land is a husband and father of two sons, Adrian II and Anthony, and he spends his time volunteering at his local church, is a self-described fitness enthusiast, and coaches AAU basketball. Welcome, Dr. Land.
Thank you, Dr. Sheets, for that introduction, and really glad to be here tonight and getting the opportunity to talk with you. So I know I only have a small bit of time, but there are a few things I want to be able to share with you tonight. So first, I'm going to share my screen really quickly, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit. Can everyone see my screen? All right, perfect. All right, so again, thank you all for, first of all, inviting me and just giving me the opportunity to spend this time with you tonight. I always enjoy talking to students. It's always one of the highlights of, one of the things I get to do. So what I wanted to do is just share a little bit about my career path, and hopefully some of my experience will help you along as you go on your career journey. A lot of times when I give these sorts of talks, I like to start with this imagery because it reminds me of where my journey started. This is an image of a road not too far from my home. So it's always one of those things that reminds me of where my particular career journey started from a small little dirt road in small town, Mississippi. So we'll jump ahead. I won't reiterate, in the interest of time, I won't reiterate a lot of things that were shared in the introduction. Where I do want to pick up this story about what this career journey looked like, starting right around my senior year in undergrad. And then this is always one of those pivotal moments for anybody that's starting on their career path, and they start to figure out what's next. And at the time going into my senior year, at that moment, I had a lot more questions than answers. So for me, the easy decision was going to graduate school because that was going to buy me a little bit of time before actually figuring out what I wanted to be when I grew up. At the moment, at that time, I was a science major. My original intention was to go to physical therapy school, but I decided that grad school gave me a bit more options. On the chance, I made that decision because if I went into physical therapy and didn't like it, I didn't feel like I would be qualified to do anything else. So I wanted to open up many more opportunities for me, just in case that this career that I thought I wanted for myself wasn't exactly what I wanted. So during my time in graduate school, after my 6 years pursuing my degree in microbiology at Indiana University, at the end I found myself almost asking a lot of the same questions. We're 6 years removed, and I'm now still in the place of, now what? Now I have this degree. Now I have these letters behind my name, as people often say, but I still wasn't really clear about what exactly it is I wanted to do, and how I could use this degree to turn it into a career that I want and love. And this is where I wanted to start to sort of share a bit more about what this looked like for me, some of the mistakes I made along the way, and hopefully it's a learning opportunity for you as well. So this is where my story has started to get interesting. So after finishing graduate school, I found myself on the traditional academic track, and even as I look back at this moment for me in time, I still often wonder, was this the decision I was making for myself, or was this just what all the other students were doing? So oftentimes when you're in a graduate program, especially a graduate program in the sciences, most of the professors around, they understand how to guide you towards the career that they have. It's the only job, it's a lot of times, it's the only role that they know how to pursue. So that is where most of the guidance is going to come from, in shaping you and molding you to go along the academic track. And so while this at the time seemed like a great interest to me, it was not something I wanted to close the door on. So my first role out of graduate school was doing a postdoc and continuing to work in that field and prepare myself for a potential academic career. I'd also spent some time teaching at a small Christian college in Mississippi, just as a way to continue to broaden my experiences. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about the specifics of any of the roles that I've had during the Q&A. But what I really want to share is really more of a top line and learning view. Like, I've been really, really blessed and fortunate to have a number of varied opportunities in different areas, including academia, working in government, and now working in private industry. What was really important in terms of charting my path through these various roles is less about the roles and more about what I learned about myself along the way. At each of these stops, I found different work experiences that I thought really, really suited me. At each of these stops, I also found work experiences and job experiences that were not really for me. And a lot of the times when the reasons that I went into the role didn't really turn out to be the things that either I felt like I was the best at or best suited for. But I often found opportunities there. That I didn't even know existed at the time I started. So if you take nothing away from the time I spent with you tonight, the most important thing I want to take away, that it's okay to not have it all figured out at the beginning. It is absolutely okay that you don't know what you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because those things are going to change in the world, and what's going to be valued as far as a job and a career, those things are going to evolve over time. Those things are going to evolve over time as well. So I do want to share 3 quick takeaways from my experiences that I hope that each of you find useful. The first is, be open to new experiences. So, and I mentioned this before about living life in default mode. We can oftentimes find ourselves just doing exactly what it is our peers are doing, or exactly what it is that the people around us, our mentors, are doing, just because we think what is best for them may also be best for us. It's important at every step of the way that you do some level of self-evaluation and make sure that the path you're charting is one that you chose for yourself and not one that someone else chose for you. So as I said, like, it's really good when you're going down this path, whether it is academic or you're in a place where you're in your first role or early career role. It's important to go out and test drive these things and make sure that you understand what is going to be suited for you. As I said, there's no reason to think that you need to have it figured out at the first step. Even the role that I have now is not a job I was even aware existed at the time I finished graduate school. It's one of those things that I've built and accumulated skills and career capital over the course of a number of years. It's been a calculated path, but it's been a one step at a time, trying to project where I might be or what I thought I might be doing from where I was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That looked completely different than where I am now. So the next piece is pursuing mastery. So the short version of this is excellence always has value. And it looks like, while it does look like I bounce around, I have had a number of different roles and opportunities. What's important is putting points on the board where you are, right? So the key to opening the door to your next opportunity is being a high-level performer at your current opportunity. There's often times where people move around and they spend so much time looking for the next thing that they don't perform where they are, and that really limits where you can go in terms of your career, or even in an academic setting. If you are so worried about senior year doing freshman year, chances are your performance won't be where it needs to be. So this is just another way to remind her, focusing on the thing that is in front of you. Like, make the most important thing is the thing that you're doing right now. Like, it's important to be thoughtful and think about where you want to be in the future, but don't get so lost in the things that are to come that you lose sight of the here and now. There's always room for excellence, and that is the way you will always continue to bring value to yourself and bring value to a potential employer. So the last thing, Elisa, in terms of the points that I wanted to make is you have to be comfortable with change. To get to the top of any field requires not only just intelligence, but you have to have agility. And whether this is agility to like intellectual agility, emotional agility, all of these things are going to be critically important as your career path start to evolve. So the highest performers at every place I've ever been has always been those who could adjust to what is a really, really changing and dynamic landscape, especially if you want to be a continuous high performer, you want to be at the top of your field in any area. This has never been more true than it's been over the last 2 or 3 years. If you are still working in the same way that you were working 3 years ago, or if you're still going to school in the same way that you were going 3 years ago, and you were not able to adjust to the ways that we've been forced to adjust in the past couple of years, there's a chance that your performance there's a chance that you've seen some drop off in your performance. It's really, really important that you don't let the change impact the things that you know that you are able to do. So as the world continues to change around you, the best way to stay ahead of competition, and make no mistake, everything, especially along your career, you're going to be compared against your peers. So there's always some level of competition, whether it is for roles, whether it's for the next job. And in most cases, and a lot of cases, these things become sort of winner take all markets. So it's important that you are positioning yourself and you have the flexibility and agility to be prepared for any change that is to come. And finally, I do want to leave with one of my favorite quotes, and it really does embody the message that I wanted to share with you all today. And the message is basically, don't put limits on what's possible for you. So the quote is, create a vision and never let the limits of what has been done in the past shape your decisions. And I really like this, and it's one that really resonated for me because don't let people tell you what you're qualified for or not qualified for. I've often felt that sometimes people look at me, or they determined at a certain point that, no, this is as far, or this is good as that you can do, or this is as far as you can make it. And oftentimes, we respond to, maybe they're right. Maybe this is all I can be. And I'm going to encourage everyone on this call to fight against that, to push against that when someone tells you that this is the best that you can do, this is your limitation. You have no limitations. And there's such a huge world of possibilities and opportunities for you that you're going to see. And I'm so glad that you all are in this program and taking advantage of an opportunity that's here for you right now. So never let anybody put those sorts of limits on you. Please take advantage of all the opportunities that are going to be present for you. And I look forward to seeing and watching and seeing, where your particular path takes you. And I am, happy to support, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you tonight.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laren. So that message was very inspiring. And what I love that you said was test driving roles, and that you don't have to have it all figured out. I think that is something that we can all take to heart. So thank you so much. So we're going to hold our questions and our for the Q&A discussion. But again, feel free to put them in the chat. And I will now turn the mic over to my colleague, Caroline Gelb, who has worked with our mentors on bringing the scientific process to life.
Hi, good to see everybody again. We are really happy to have 3M with us tonight. 3M is one of our generous sponsors, and we are extremely fortunate in that corporate scientist and 3M's chief science advocate, Dr. Jayshree Seith, is a member of the OFIS advisory group. When we asked how we could engage 3M, she thought that touring the Innovation Center would align with our goal to spark curiosity in STEM. And Michelle Woodard, my manager of the 3M office and the Innovation Center in Washington, D.C. is here to provide us with a really great 3D tour. So I'm going to introduce Michelle now. Michelle has been with 3M since 2003 and has held a number of different roles. Currently, she is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the Innovation Center and increasing awareness of 3M solutions to some of the world's biggest issues. Prior to her current position, she was the communications manager for the 3M Innovation Center at corporate headquarters in Minneapolis. During her tenure at 3M, she has been a business development leader in the automotive aftermarket division and managed a range of product portfolios such as Scotch packaging tape and those in the stationery products division, which under her leadership grew to more than $30 million. While at 3M, she has been an active member in their Women's Leadership Forum, the African American Network, and other employee resource networks. And prior to 3M, Michelle was a process and industrial engineer at Procter & Gamble, Pampers, and Love's manufacturing plant, where she led the design of experiments and testing to eliminate $4 million in raw material loss annually. Michelle holds an MBA and Master's of Engineering Management from Northwestern University and a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Missouri-Rolla. Currently, she works remotely in Florida with her husband, and loves to mentor, travel, and scuba dive. So please, let's welcome Michelle. I'm amazed. I'm sure everybody else is amazed. Please, let's thank Michelle in the chat. I learned so much about all the different areas of innovation 3M works in. It really brings the scientific process to life. So thank you so much, Michelle, for taking us through the process of innovation 3M uses to create new products and solve real world problems, and in so many and a variety of fields. Does everybody remember meeting Deja Taylor at our kickoff meeting? She's the young woman from Iowa who invented the color-changing sutures that detect infection. It shows that innovation can happen at any age, and hopefully this is an inspiration to all of us. Michelle's presentation is also a great segue to the focus of our next module in the OFIS Mentorship Program, which is bringing the scientific process to life. So in addition to today's speakers sharing insights and solutions, we felt that there was no better way than to have OFIS mentors give virtual tours of their labs or share a day in the life experience. So here are a few highlights from the videos. We were blown away by the mentors' research and how their work connects to social justice, and we can't wait for you to dive into their full videos.
Hi, my name is Rose Leach Basom, and I'm a fourth-year PhD student at Kent State University in human evolutionary biology. We've now worked to combat this myth that race has a biological basis by understanding skeletal developmental biology and the processes that affect the development and architecture of bones by studying our closest living relatives, primates. So by doing that, we can begin to combat this notion that race has a biological basis when it in fact does not.
Hi, my name is Bené Ndefu, and I am a PhD student in material science at University of California, Los Angeles. I'm generally interested in using predictive models to address problems related to climate change and the mitigation of the effects of climate change. My hope is to create models that can guide decision makers to plan and make choices that lead to better well-being of communities. Currently, my research is on energy systems and their components.
So here is one of the supercomputers that we use. We have people working on various important topics in risk analysis from various engineering backgrounds. Some are working on determining and mitigating the risk of fires caused by utility equipment and environmental conditions. We have people working on pipeline failure prediction and management. And these are the types of resources that I use in my research as well.
And I'm excited to see where my research takes me.
Hey, my name is Juliana. I'm a geologist at CU Boulder.
I study past climate, and one of my main research questions is, how did ancient lake basins change in response to globally warm climate in the past? We would expect sediments to be changing over time. So when I'm in the field, I collect samples from all different time points. We can study ancient lakes from the past to better understand how we predict they will change in response to global warming today. Using science and geology to understand how lake ecosystems will respond to climate change will help prepare and get resources to communities dependent on those lake ecosystems.
Hello, OFIS members. My name is Hassan Farah. I'm a PhD candidate at Virginia Tech. Our lab focuses primarily on children with cerebral palsy that affects their motor control and motor skills. My job as a researcher is to take the observations that our therapists have made and come up with new questions. How can I observe what we've done and elevate it to another like this, and force plates like these? You should see arrows jump up and down. As you can see, the motion capture sensors are from the shoulders all the way down to the toes. The goal here is to create new targets for intervention, create new therapy treatments, and ultimately, we can increase the quality of life.
Great, thank you. That was awesome. And we're really excited to share all the real world STEM experiences that the mentors have prepared. And so mentees and scholars, you will receive the full videos sometime this week, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts. I'm now going to pass it back to Jelana and Aaron to open up for Q&A. And thank you to those who've joined us by camera, and hopefully more of you will be able to ask your questions with your cameras on if you can.
Great, thanks so much. Now we have about 15 minutes for Q&A with our speakers. Thank you so much to both of you for your presentations. I have a ton, but I want to hear from our mentees and our mentors. And I know Jelana, though, has one that we're going to kick off with.
All right. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for sharing such great insights. A lot of what you said resonated with even just my own experiences in grad school. So I think students will really benefit from that. I was wondering, could you also share about the bench research and experiments that you did at the FDA and how it may have impacted society? And also, you know, what along your trajectory prepared you for working across sectors?
Sure, thank you. Excellent question. I'm really I'm glad to have that question because it was such a fun job. So I really enjoyed talking about it. So my time at the FDA, so I was brought into an area was called the Forensic Chemistry Center. So basically, we do all of the criminal investigative work that the FDA does for crimes that involve things that are regulated by the FDA. So it was a broad range of things I worked on, everything from counterfeit tobacco and drugs to working with Bacillus anthracis and Yersinia pestis. So my background is a microbiologist, as I mentioned, and most of my graduate research was on infectious disease. So they were looking for people that had backgrounds in pathogenesis after 9/11 because there was a huge concern about someone going after the food supply with things like anthrax and pestis as a way to cause terror in the country. So a lot of the work that I did there was developing methodology to ensure that, you know, it's going to sound strange, to ensure that if somebody put anthrax or something like that in our food supply, that we would be able to detect it and contain it. Also, part of the things I did, we did also work on active criminal cases. So I had opportunities to work on looking for counterfeit drugs. We had a lot of work that was addressing the opioid epidemic. We had also worked on several things in terms of criminal case work that ranged everything from petty fraud to fake cancer drugs to a potential murder that we were able to exonerate a person who was accused of committing a crime that he did not commit. So there was a lot of varied work where I was able to leverage my skills as a bench scientist and apply it to impact people really, really directly and visibly, and also influence laws and the way that we look at policy, scientific policy.
Wow, thank you for sharing. I know that one of our mentors, I think, is actually a forensic biologist, a microbiologist. And so I'm not sure if he's on the call right now, but I know that hearing your experience would be very beneficial to him. I do have another question that came in directly from the chat. And this is for Michelle. How does someone go from an idea to a product? Or if you have an idea and want to sell it to a company, how do you do that?
So you're saying you're external and you want to sell it to 3M, for example? Is that more of the question?
Can you repeat what you said?
So is it basically you're not a 3M'er and you have this product idea and you want to sell it to the company or license it to the company?
It could be that or someone within 3M.
Okay, so fantastic question. I'm gonna go from the perspective of being internal 3M. I don't really know how it works being external. You have this product that you want to have this purchase or license or whatever. But we have this wonderful 6-step process. So it's a new product introductory process. I did it a number of times. I managed as a marketer. I was the quarterback of the football team, and the team consisted of everyone from our different functions, from the laboratory, legal, product design, manufacturing, supply chain, sales, etc. We would have these ideas by going out to our customers, observing them in their environment, whether that customer is in their home or their customer is in a manufacturing plant. Our customer might come to us with an issue, but we go through this 6-step process of evaluating the issue, looking at our portfolio, looking at our technologies to determine whether or not we have the ability to solve or pull our products together, or pull our technology together to solve that particular issue. We do this iterative process. We have gate reviews. We're presenting our findings, our research, our estimates, design of the product itself to a committee per se to review whether or not it's a good reason or a justification to continue to move that process along. And then hopefully if that gets to the last stage, we launch a product and it's successful on the shelf. And a year later, we'll go back and reevaluate. How did it work? Did it meet expectations? Did it fall a little short? Do we need to invest more money? So there's a lot that goes into it. Again, we're looking at the manufacturing aspect, the sustainability aspect, cost, pricing, and it really takes that team of experts in their particular fields to get that product to market. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. We'll take Hassan's question next, but I feel that I actually have a question related to what you just shared that I think relates to the regulatory aspect of it that Adrian may be able to respond to. But first we'll go with Hassan's comment or question.
Great, thank you so much. My question was mainly for Dr. Land. Through your stories and your experiences, you've shown how versatile a graduate degree can be and how many different ways you can use it, which has been very encouraging for me personally. But I was wondering if you could share an experience of when something didn't go the way you expected and kind of how you rebounded from that and moved forward.
Oh, so how much time do you have? so many examples. But I do think that's a critical point, and I'm really glad that you asked the question. A lot of times when we have these opportunities to share, we often only share the highlights and not talk about some of the difficulties and the struggles along the way. I think the most potent example for me, it would have been my first year of graduate school, my first semester of graduate school. I went home for Christmas and did not think I was coming back. It was awful. It was terrible. I was new to the city, new to the town. I did not know anybody. I was sleeping in the building because I was struggling so much to make it to class in the morning. I started sleeping in the car in the parking lot. And what I found that helps me and has continued to help me every time I have no struggle is to focus on doing something for somebody else. When I started putting effort into supporting the people around me, I found that made me feel better than sort of reflecting on what my problems are. But when I started to do things, it all started to make a lot more sense to me, and I could start to add value in other places. So sometimes it's easy to sort of reflect on all the things that are going wrong. But I continue to embrace that after my first year. And it's sort of just finding other ways. I started to get engaged in the community. I started to mentor undergraduate students, and those things started to give me a bit of life. And then, you know, things in the lab, especially for graduate students, you know, 90% of the things that you do fail. And that's a real hard thing to accept for people who tend to be coming from an undergraduate career when they were excellent. And then you get to a place where most everything doesn't work. So I found that just pouring into other people and looking at and getting involved in a community and having a peer group of friends, those were the things that kept me afloat during graduate school, and those things I think has continued to be my community, and the way that I interact with the people around us continue to be what keeps me afloat when things don't go wrong, when things don't go as planned.
Can I add one quick thing there, if you don't mind? At 3M, we actually celebrate our fails. We learn from them. We share that information with our colleagues so they don't make that same mistake later on. As I mentioned before, very collaborative. We want to improve lives. We want people to be successful. So we share issues that we've had. We have a repository of different programs, and people can go back and see, okay, they worked on this type of problem. These were the results. Can I pull information from that? It didn't necessarily work for them, but maybe I can twist it and turn it, and it works for me. So that's just one thing that we do here at 3M.
Thank you. That's great.
Thanks for sharing. If you all have questions, you can say them verbally or put them in the chat. And I have received some direct messages, but you know, everyone can see them. So Adrian, I have a question for you. If you, as a member of the public, want to make change in a corporation and maybe have ways to like have them have less impact on the environment or making medication more affordable and accessible, what's the best way to get your voice heard?
So it's how this is handled looks different for every corporation. So I try to speak a bit more generally. Most especially large corporations have resources dedicated to listen to consumers. And whether it is something specific about a product or whether it's something specific about the company direction, there are typically lines and ways that you can reach out and contact the consumer. Pretty much any product that you buy, whether it is from 3M or P&G, if you look on the back, there's a line or a website in a place where you can contact them. And this is not like sending it off into space, because especially in the role that I'm in, I'm often asked to respond to a consumer comment that may come from someone in our branding or our marketing, our public relations department. Hey, how should we respond to this? The consumer said that they're concerned about this thing. The consumer said they're concerned about that thing. And there are people who there's somebody in that group, and if they can't answer, they will find the expert in the company to go ahead and answer your question. So there are ways to do this directly. There's always ways to influence a company, but the best way to influence a company is to stop buying the product. Because if you really want to make a change, impact the bottom line, and you will start to see changes come into play really, really quickly.
All right, thank you for that.
We have about 3 minutes left. Just a reminder to our mentees to stay on after the meeting for a check-in with the OFIS team. Any other questions? Destiny, saw your hand up earlier. I wasn't sure if that was for a question or for responding to something in the chat.
Yes, it was for a question. I was going to type it in the chat, but I can say it right now.
Please do.
So what are some ways for people to learn not to be afraid of failure? I'm afraid of failure, especially when it comes to like doing something towards change, because I feel like if I fail, then that means I haven't made progress. So do either of you like have any tips or maybe like an experience you can share, of how failure didn't really stop you?
Sarah, you want to jump on this one, or you want me to? I'm sure we both have something to add here.
I'll be quick. I remember being a young engineer at Procter & Gamble, working on the manufacturing line, making diapers, and I had this great idea to increase the efficiency of the line The diaper at the time, it had a bond along the leg. So there was two rolls that came together, create a seal for that leg part, the three materials or so that made up the diaper itself. I had this great idea to reduce the amount of buildup on that part, the machinery. So I worked with the vendor. I was super excited about it. We shut the line down. And if you work in manufacturing, it's all about efficiency. You want that line running. You want to be running at 99% efficiency. Anything that impacts that line being down is costing money, right? So we took the line down. It was supposed to be like a 5-hour project, get the line back up and running. The part came in, we shut the line down. They put the part on, or they tried to put the part on, it didn't work. So you imagine me, I think I was 24, 25 at the time, and all eyes was on Michelle. And I just wanted to disappear. I mean, I remember I wasn't crying, but I was pretty close to it because I hyped this up so much. We're going to save money, we're going to increase efficiency, and it did not work. So I had to kind of step back, gather myself, and redeem myself in front of this team, in front of the 22 line members that were basically doing nothing. They weren't very productive, and they were used to being productive. So that failure just made me stay on top of things, make sure that all my ducks are in a row, my I's are dotted, my T's are crossed, and I have people looking to make sure, helping me to make sure that things are going to go better. But you're going to have failures. You go back, look at some of the greatest scientists on earth. They failed at some point in their life, at some point of their career.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something Michelle said earlier about celebrating the failures. I know that's something that's really hard to do, but so much about what that looks like is being around and being in a culture where people understand that failure means progress. And that's a hard thing to reconcile when you're younger, certainly when you're in school. But as you move forward, especially if you're in a scientific career, like I've had a manager tell me, like, we're in R&D, the idea is to fail. If you're coming with an idea that you know will work, then you're not stretching your brain hard enough. If you already know it's going to work, then there's no reason for us to try it. The best thing I've seen a manager do in terms of creating a culture where this is okay, the manager once handed an employee, because we knew she had good ideas, but she would never speak up in the meeting because she was so afraid that what she was going to say would be wrong or be perceived to be wrong, and she didn't want to own it. What the manager did, went to her desk, put a deck of cards on her desk, said, every time you have something, every time that you think you have an idea and it's wrong, you pull one of these cards out of the deck, but you won't be in any trouble until you empty it. And from that point forward, she was confident, she could speak up because she knew that, this was a place where she could share comfortably. And if she made a mistake, it was not going to cost her career. And most of the time, what she said was wonderful and insightful and helpful, but holding those things inside didn't help any of us progress. So understanding that this is part of the process is absolutely part of the scientific process. Like, I can go back and do my PhD now in probably about 18 months, like maybe 12, because now I understand, but the things I've learned, everything I've learned about the process of learning and development happened through those failures that I had during that time. I am much better off taking the path that I did with all the mistakes I learned along the way than if I could go and streamline it. Streamlining is overrated. So much of what makes us good and qualified for things is understanding how to overcome those pitfalls.
Aaron, we have one more question, right?
Yeah, we just got a direct message following up from that. Really briefly, how do you deal with pressure from peers or the stress of meeting expectations from others?
Yeah, that's a really excellent question, and it's one I battle with often. I think so much of this, and you're going to hear, this has been the answer to a previous question, so much of what being able to manage these things is about a community and having a community and supporting people around you. I've been fortunate everywhere I've been to have good friends. I have a wonderful, loving spouse. I have a great community around me. And when my family has been incredibly supportive And so when I'm feeling these stresses, I'm feeling these pressures, because you're absolutely right. You feel them. You often feel them. But having someone to bounce those things off, having someone to keep me grounded, having things outside of the workplace where I feel these pressures, that's part of why I do the coaching and I do all of these other things, because those are a significant help for me, for focusing on the things that are truly important, and not getting lost in some of the varied and wild ranging opinions of others, and trying to let go of some of that stress by understanding what my values are and making sure that all my behavior is consistent with those.
I think we're going to wrap up with Geraldine's question that I'll paraphrase. All of our mentors are STEM graduate students, so they're currently in academia. And Dr. Land, you mentioned how so many of our advisors in graduate school only know how to advise to become professors. But what drew each of you to careers outside academia? And what are ways that our students could get to know what those career possibilities might offer?
I'll go quickly. I don't have a PhD. My highest degree is MS. So I have a MBA and then also my master's in engineering management. So I never had a plan of going into academia. When I went into grad school, I was going to go into consulting, but then my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was doing consulting, working crazy hours. So I was like, that's not for me. So that was my decision to go into manufacturing, and then stay with the business side of the organization.
And really quickly, so I think it looks a lot different now than it did when I was early in the career. So if you have a career center on your campus, that's a great place to start, because they'll teach you what it looks like to sort of apply for an industry role. Preparing a CV for an industry job or a job in a different career looks very different than what you would look like for an academic CV. Second, I would say now you have these networking tools, and leverage your network, reach out to people, ask for informational interviews. There are lots of ways to find out about different careers that are available to you because of some of the social tools and places like LinkedIn or things of that nature. But most often the time, if you reach out to someone, you have a question that is specific, and I want to be clear on that. If you have a specific question, people can help you with that. And those are much easier to answer than, well, what do you think I should do when I finish graduate school? That's really difficult for someone to answer who's never met you and doesn't know anything about you. But a very specific and directed question is much, much more likely to get a response.
Excellent advice. Thank you both. Ebony's going to close out our session tonight.
So, we always learn so much during these community events, and this is only our second one. So wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Land. Thank you, Michelle. This was excellent. So we are excited about what's to come throughout the year. So we ask that you visit our website, ourfutureisscience.org, and follow us on social media to learn about our initiatives, future events, and campaigns. And we like to invite our mentees to just stay on for 15 minutes so we can just troubleshoot any technical issues that you may be having with the program. And we want to thank everyone for coming on tonight. This was a really great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Would our speakers be willing, we could follow up afterward, to be in contact with any of our students if they have some questions for you?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that. We just want to get your permission before we share your emails with anybody. Thank you. So thank you everybody for coming. Mentees, please stay on, and we will have a debrief. Great to see all the mentors here. Looking forward to hearing how things are going soon.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.